A mesmerising MotoGP title battle moves to Malaysia for the penultimate round in 2024, with the world's best riders seeking to star on Sprint Saturday at the Sepang International Circuit. 2 rounds remain, but there can be only one world champion as Jorge Martin and Pecco and Martin face off in a clash of the titans near Kuala Lumpur. It's time for MotoGP. So the Sepang International Circuit, based in Malaysia, one of 8 Asian nations to host a MotoGP, one of 13 tracks in Asia to be part of the MotoGP calendar, designed of course by Herman Tilke, also designed Aragon, Kota and Buriram. 5.5 kilometers in length. It's long, it's fast, it's technical and physically demanding in the heat and humidity of Malaysia. 15 corners, 10 of them right, 5 of them left. A long run down to a heavy braking zone for turn 1. Hard braking also into turn 4. Turn 5 was where Jorge Martin crashed out the lead here 2 years ago. Turn 9, you have to be careful on the front end there. Easy to watch out the front on the brakes. And turn 15, one of 3 demanding braking points. Turn 15, that last sector, is where Pecco and Martin has been dominant so far this weekend. High tyre stress zone also on the brakes into that final corner. Plenty of overtaking hot spots around the 3.4 mile layout. Turn 1, 4, 9, 14 and 15. This was Jorge Martin's move on Pecco and Martin into turn 14 here 1 year ago. So 6 days ago, the MotoGP field splashed their way around the Chang International Circuit in Buriram. Flying away from pole position was reigning world champion Pecco and Martin. In treacherous conditions, it was Jorge Martin who made the early run before he made this key mistake into turn 3. That set up a battle between Martin and Marc Marquez, the future factory Ducati teammates. Marquez twice had briefly taken the lead before his hopes of victory were ended with this crash at turn 8. So close, wasn't he, the 93, to saving it. That pushed Pedro Acosta and Jack Miller into a battle for the final place on the podium. It eventually went the way of the rookie. And at a time of the season where it's must-win territory for Pecco and Martin. He did win in Buriram 6 days ago, the world champion's first ever wet race victory of his career. And the stage is set for another epic showdown at the Sepang International Circuit. The rematch is on. It is game on between Jorge Martin and Pecco and Martin. Just 2 riders remain in this battle for 2024 glory. It was magic, it was magnificent, mesmerising in Malaysia this morning. Did Martin and Martin deliver the best ever Q2 session we have ever seen? Well, it was certainly a contender for the best ever qualifying, wasn't it? As our 2 title contenders slugged it out in Sepang in Q2. And at the end of it all, Pecco and Martin secured his 4th pole position in the last 7 Grand Prix, and he did so in truly breathtaking style. A 156.337, over a second inside of his own all-time lap record set on his way to pole position here 1 year ago. Jorge Martin himself had fired in a truly stunning 156.553 on his first run in that 15-minute Q2 session. We all thought, Pramac Ducati, and more importantly Jorge Martin, thought that was enough for pole position here in Sepang before Martin's late brilliance sees him take pole. Our 2 title contenders side by side on the grid for the 10-lap TSO sprint coming up next. Side by side for the 20-lap Malaysian Grand Prix here tomorrow. Side by side, they've been in the championship chase throughout 2023 and once again here in 2024. So much to look forward to over the next 24 hours or so under what we hope are going to be dry skies. It's gone very dark, very grey here in Malaysia. There has been the threat of rain this afternoon from some of the forecast. Let's hope we do get a dry 10-lap sprint, because if we get anything near the thrills, the spills and the drama of this morning's Q2, well folks, you are in for an absolute stonking Tissot sprint coming up very, very shortly. Here are the overtaking hotspots then, turns 1, turns 4 and turn 15. Where will Bagnaia, where will Martin and the rest of the field pick their moments to try and take our 19th sprint success of the season? All the ingredients are there. The stage is set for this one to be a corker. Matt Burton, Lewis still to be in the commentary box. Simon Crafar down in pit lane. Lewis, I think it's fair to say this morning's Q2 was one of the best Q2s we have ever seen. Just how we wanted it, just how we wanted the script to go. Bagnaia versus Martin, the two title heavyweights going toe to toe. And boy, what a Q2 it was this morning.
Boy, did they throw haymakers at each other this morning. As you said, Jorge Martin must have thought a 156.553 was more than enough for pole position. Pecco Bagnaia thought otherwise. Proof that you can never write off the reigning world champion, and proof that Jorge Martin is going to try and clinch this world championship by going on the attack. That is not a rider that is taking a cautious approach, knowing that he only needs second places to Bagnaia from here on in. Second is where he starts to Bagnaia for this afternoon sprint, but all sorts of uncertainty ahead of us with less than 20 minutes to the start in terms of what kind of sprint we're going to see and what kind of weather it will take place in.
How on earth did a 156.553 not secure Jorge Martin pole position here today? Well, it was all down to one rider, the utter brilliance of world champion Pecco Bagnaia, the 27-year-old Italian. A lap that was out of this world, probably the best single lap of his entire Grand Prix career, securing him pole position number 23. Martin and Bagnaia, just over 2/10 separated our top two. There was a chasm, nearly 3/4 of a second back to Alex Marquez, who did a great job actually. Marquez, sprint winner here 1 year ago, second in the Grand Prix to Enea Bastianini. A first front row start in 21 for the 28-year-old Spaniard, his first front row since Qatar last year. But there was just huge gaps, huge gaps behind our top two, Bagnaia and Martin.
Yeah, they were on another level entirely, just underlining why they are the best two riders in MotoGP of 2024. And Enea Bastianini, in all things being equal, probably should have been in the middle of that gap between Martin and Alex Marquez, but he had a crash in Q2 at the final corner, which dropped him a row on the grid further down than he ought to be starting. He starts in 6th place, but he hasn't got anywhere near as much as ground to make up as Pedro Acosta does after he fell victim to a Saturday stunner from Johann Zarco in Q1.
Bastianini 6th on the grid, but over a second off the pole time. Yeah, well, thoughts echoed by the whole of the MotoGP community. Our thoughts and prayers, our condolences are with the city of Valencia. Yeah, the Malaysian fans on their feet with a round of applause. We've seen black ribbons adorned across a lot of team uniforms here this weekend, and a lot of motorcycles. Of course, our thoughts and prayers to those in the aftermath of the terrible floods that hit Valencia earlier on this week. There will be a minute's silence in memory of the victims in the build-up to this 10-lap Tissot sprint. So the 89 fans then out in force. Row 2 headed by Frankie Morbidelli, second highest qualifying performance of the season for the Prima Planet Racing rider. Marc Marquez goes from 5th. He was the last of the riders able to lap within a second this morning of Bagnaia and Martin. Brilliant performance by them. Marco Bezzecchi, well, he was 14th. Close to Q2, but not close enough. A lot of work to do for Bez coming from the middle of that 5th row of the grid, in between the Spaniards, Acosta and Raul Fernandez.
Funnily enough, from a VR46 point of view, it almost felt like Marco Bezzecchi was the supporting act this morning to the incredible performance of his stand-in teammate Andrea Iannone, making his first MotoGP appearance for the thick end of 5 years. Iannone set a 158.183 in qualifying this morning, which in any previous year would have put him right up to the sharp end of the grid, which shows how quickly the game moves on. Iannone starts his first ever sprint in MotoGP from 17th place, although he will be quite familiar with this short style of racing, of course, having raced in World Superbikes and their Superpole race this year. What
a superhuman effort by Iannone. As Lewis mentioned, 5 years after his farewell appearance in MotoGP. 1.5 seconds faster this morning than his best time yesterday. And he was only, what, 8/10 of a second, I think it was, behind Marc Marquez on the GP23. Absolutely astonishing performance by the 35-year-old Italian. getting himself then set for the biggest sprint of the season so far. Jorge Martin, well, he admitted himself when he spoke in Parc Ferme to our colleague Jack Appleyard that he was convinced, he was absolutely cocksure that 156.553 was good enough for pole position. It would have been his 21st pole in MotoGP, but he had not reckoned with a late stunner being fired in by world champion Pecco Bagnaia, who you have to say, in the most highest of stress situations, the highest pressure situation, 17 points behind Martin in the championship. He has come here to Sepang at Bagnaia on fire, fastest in all 3 practice sessions, on pole position with that record-breaking lap, and he's getting himself set to try and eat into that 17-point gap in the World Championship. Yeah, farewell, good message that, nice farewell from some fans to Taka Nakagami from the Idemitsu LCR Honda squad. 18th on the grid, you'll find the Japanese rider.
Well, today certainly has given us further proof, if we needed it, that either Jorge Martin or Pecco Bagnaia would make a very worthy world champion this year. Only one of them can ultimately claim that prize. 17 points separates them, and of course so much of the talk is of this going all the way down to the season finale still to come in 2024. But of course the flip side of that is, if this man on screen, Pecco Bagnaia from pole position, makes a mistake either today or in the race tomorrow, we might well be in a scenario where Jorge Martin could wrap up the World Championship in tomorrow's 20-lap Malaysian Grand Prix. His lead at the moment, by Martin that is, 17 points. If he extends that to 38 by the time we finish tomorrow, then Martin will be the world champion without even requiring the nerve-jangling season finale.
Nothing between our 2 top contenders on Sprint Saturdays. They've both shared 6 sprint wins apiece so far this season. Martin has the upper hand in terms of podiums, 14 back to 9. Just 1 front row start between the pair of them as well so far this season. Now then, how are the nerves? How's the pressure down in both Prima Pramac Ducati and at Ducati at Nova, with so much at stake over the next 2 Grand Prix weekends? Let's get the thoughts of Pecco Bagnaia's boss, Davide Tardozzi, you join. Simon, good afternoon, gentlemen.
Yeah, good afternoon. Davide, just going back to that qualifying we were treated to, was absolutely unbelievable. First of all, Jorge's lap, I didn't believe it was possible to beat it. And looking at the faces in your garage at the time, I think there were some doubts in there as well. But the lap Pecco put together, tell us about it.
Yeah, that's true. When I saw 56.5 from Jorge, I thought that this is the pole position, while Pecco did an incredible and amazing lap. I think that those 2 guys are really raising the level of this sport in the last 2 years, and they push each other to grow up, and it's funny to see what it will be this race too.
Can you tell us your thoughts on this one? Because Pecco, you can see, is so determined to win, and really would like your thoughts on how it's going to play out.
Yeah, but I think that Jorge is a guy that he will never give up. So I think that he will try hard to start in front and lead the race, while Pecco will try hardly, if he's not leading, to overtake immediately Jorge. It will be a fantastic race, I guess.
Thank you, Davide.
Thank you.
Yes, thanks Simon, thanks to Davide Tardozzi. As you can see, Jorge Martin has followed Andrea Iannone, the maniac, back here in Sepang for his first MotoGP start in 5 years. Fuel conservation mode here for the Martinator. Pecco Bagnaia, 3rd in the sprint and Grand Prix here last year from pole position. You feel a pair of 3rd places in the 2024 edition of the Malaysian Grand Prix just will not cut it. He has to find a way to beat Jorge Martin over the 30 racing laps that lie in store here at the Petronas Grand Prix of Malaysia.
And he needs to put a bike between himself and Jorge Martin if he does exactly that. You feel the best chance of Pecco Bagnaia doing that is with his teammate Enea Bastianini, though I've mentioned he starts a row back further on the grid than perhaps he ought to be, based on the GP24 that he has underneath him. That crash at Q2 cost him dear. Here's your grid: Bagnaia, Martin and Alex Marquez, last year's sprint winner here on the front row. Morbidelli, Marc Marquez and Enea Bastianini make up your second row. Jack Miller starts from 7th on the grid ahead of Fabio Quartararo and Alex Rins. Brad Binder, Johan Zarco, star of Q1, and Maverick Vinales on row 4. 5th row of the grid, we find Pedro Acosta, who was eliminated in Q1. Marco Bezzecchi and Ralph Fernandez alongside him. Alicia Spargo, the impressive Andrea Iannone, and Taka Nakagami make up an experienced row 6. Up behind them, Luca Marini and Joan Mir for Repsol Honda. Augusto Fernandez, who's already crashed twice today, and Lorenzo Savadori continuing to substitute for Miguel Oliveira at Trackhouse Aprilia.
So there he is, your reigning world champion, Pecco Bagnaia. He has led every session so far here this weekend at the Sepang International Circuit. Time to rock and roll with the rematch. Let's just hope this sprint will remain dry. There are a lot of threatening grey clouds looming overhead. Our title contenders are primed and ready for the action here at the Sepang International Circuit. Round 19 of 20 is all set to go as a large contingent, a large presence from the MotoGP family and community come to the grid, as we will very, very shortly pause for a very emotional minute silence. That's coming up in around 30 seconds time. You can see Dorna CEO there, Camilo Espeleta, FIM President George Villegas. We do now know, sadly, after the devastating floods in Valencia, that the Ricardo Tormo circuit will not be our final venue of the 2024 season. The MotoGP paddock is united in its grief and support for the victims of the tragic events in Valencia early this week. We will now observe a minute's silence to honour those who have sadly lost their lives in those devastating floods. We race for Valencia. Our hearts are with a beautiful city and its people coming to terms with unbearable loss. And when and where we race in the final round in 2024, it will be those who've lost their lives that'll be at the forefront of our minds the most. Back here in Malaysia then for this penultimate round of the 2024 MotoGP World Championship. It is all systems go, it's all eyes on Pecco Bagnaia and Jorge Martin. 12 points up for grabs in the 10-lap sprint coming your way in just over 5 minutes time. 17 points, that's the magic number as far as Martin's concerned. He looks to continue this phenomenal sprint record, a phenomenal record in 2024. The reason why he's in such a commanding position, 28 podiums out of 36 races so far this season. 15 times he's finished in second place. Well, he's about to start in second place. 6 times the last 11 Grand Prix. Jorge Martin has been second in both the sprint and the Grand Prix. If Pecco Bagnaia wins the last 4 races, 4 seconds, well, that will do the trick for Jorge Martin. He will create history as our first independent team rider to win at the MotoGP World Championship. Let's go down to what feels like a very tense atmosphere, a very tense grid indeed. Simon Crafar with some updates.
It's starting to rain, guys, and I had Gino Borsoi with me to interview him, and of course the first bit we got, he's saying not now, we have to work. So yeah, it's getting heavier quickly.
Well, there you can see, thanks very much, Simon. These are live pictures. Light rain is falling here on the grid, which you have to fit. Well, it will inevitably a delayed start. The worst possible timing. We are less than 5 minutes away from our scheduled lights out here in the Petronas Grand Prix of Malaysia for the sprint. Wow. Well, we thought there was a weather-impacted drama in Thailand last weekend. Well, the rain is starting to fall here, just moments away from a pivotal sprint here in Malaysia.
Yeah, just an information on what this all means. If the track is dry for the start of the sighting lap, which it was, but then becomes wet with riders on the grid, teams are then given extra working time. The rain on grid procedure board is displayed. When the track becomes wet, this can be before or after the normal 5-minute countdown has started. Of course, that has started.
Look at that stretch. You could hear Jorge Martin there quickly in conversation with Pramak Ducati boss Gino Borsoi. Jorge Martin said after the stressful Thai Grand Prix in Buriram last weekend, he said nobody on planet Earth can understand the pressure that both he and Bagnaia were under. So easy to make a mistake in that rain-hit Buriram clash just 6 days ago. Just the last thing that Bagnaia and Martin needed. They were all ready to go for what still could be a dry Tissot sprint. It may well just be a light shower passing through. In fact, Simon Crafar is just telling us from down on the grid, the rain has quickly stopped. So rain, stay away, please, here in Sepang. So we get what we think will be a titanic clash between Bagnaia and Martin in the fight for the latest 12 points in the MotoGP World Championship. Safety car then peels away from the front of the grid. The grid now starts to clear. Front row then for this 10-lap sprint here in Sepang. Sprint winner here 12 months ago, Gresini Racing, Alex Marquez. First front row start of 2024 for the Spanish rider. Jorge Martin, 17 points clear in the World Championship, fires away from second place. But after an utterly unbelievable, phenomenal pole position lap this morning, it's Pecco Bagnaia that will lead the field away from pole here in Sepang.